Good morning, Metalheads Unite. Welcome to a new episode of the Metal Meltdown, and today we're looking at the latest album from Midnight entitled Rebirth by Blasphemy. Midnight is not a particularly difficult band to figure out. They like beer, they like violence, and they like heavy fucking metal. True heavy metal. They love Judas Priest, they love Motorhead, they love Venom, they love early Metallica and Slayer, and they love throwing all of these classic sounds and templates into a blender with that beer, that aforementioned beer, and they like beating the side of a blender with a fucking baseball bat as it's shaking around, as it's doing a thing, and then when they're done mixing it, they pick up the blender, they drink the whole thing, they smash it on their fucking head, and they stab the first person they see with the broken shards of said blender. They're an interesting breed of heavy metal that's all about pushing this genre, every aspect of it, to the highest possible extreme without ever fully crossing over into any extreme subgenre. Sure, there are definitely elements of first wave black metal, there are definitely elements of D-beat and some hardcore, and definitely really dark thrash metal, duh, but they never fully go over. The band retains a kind of slick, sleazy, catchy heavy metal spirit, very much on par with a lot of the bands we've talked about, but more specifically Motorhead and Venom. And not only is it performed with the utmost confidence and energy, as well as, dare I say, even professionalism, the band also kind of have this air of mystique and illusion about them. I mean, when they play live, they've always got hoods over their heads, they're always wearing big leather jackets. As far as I know, no one has really seen what they look like. We don't even know their real names. In fact, the true leader of this group goes by the name of Athenar, and this picture that I've pulled up from the Encyclopedia Metallum literally shows him, no shirt, leather jacket, ammo belt, hood concealing his entire face, wielding a machete across his chest. It's arguably a little bit of a gimmick, but hey, it's a gimmick that works, and because Midnight have not grown to the levels of success of bands such as Kiss or Ghost, they've never had to compromise that element of mystique and illusion. They've always felt really weird, really out there, just by default. For all these reasons, it's hard not to be inherently pretty excited for a Midnight record, particularly into January 2020, where I've had to sit through a lot of really generic heavy metal records that haven't done a fucking thing for me. In this scenario, an album for Midnight would, in theory, act as a bit of a palate cleanser, a lemon sorbet, if you will. But really, Midnight, being Midnight, are not interested in cleansing your palate. I mean, unless you consider an entire bottle of Jack Daniels spiked with snake venom a palate cleanser. Their signature style of sleaze, darkness, misery, and violence is sleazier, darker, more miserable, and more violent than ever before. Refined, dare I say, and it results in probably one of the most entertaining albums, at least within the traditional heavy metal spectrums, I've heard so far this year, and an album that only the stupidest of people would not be headbanging to. The album starts with an immediate wallop to the face, and a track that couldn't possibly better describe Midnight, even if I was paid to sit down for an entire day and do so: fucking speed and darkness. An in-your-face, blackened speed metal banger with ferocious vocals, nasty ripping solos, nice earthy bass, big banging punk rock style drums. Vocals bounce off the wall with reverb. Athenar feels like he's all over the place and in your face all at once. And more importantly, the whole time I'm banging my head harder than a pissed off ram, particularly as we come closer to the end of the track and the band dips their toes into this delicious little breakdown with these mid-pace chugging riffs, bringing that classic heavy metal spirit, still retaining a little bit of that blackened energy, and throwing some delicious snarls right on top of it. From here, a formula is established that I suppose if you really wanted to nitpick, you could argue as being somewhat predictable, making the album feel repetitive, perhaps even redundant, but in doing so, you would miss the point of Midnight. You would miss the point that we were supposed to be doing instead of analyzing all of its little nitty-bitty details, as you should be grabbing a bottle of whiskey, chugging the fuck out of it, and throwing it at the nearest possible wall. Something I imagine a lot of people will do on many tracks on here. Take, for instance, closing track, You Can Drag Me Through Fire. This rebellious, punk-tinged number that ends the album on a ferocious declarative note. Or in a track like Rising Scum, which the band in a press statement compared to late 70s Judas Priest, but I would say it kind of has the attitude and the scope of something like God of Thunder from Kiss, but with its own crusty, blackened spirit. Or one of my favorite tracks, Waiting for the Reaper, which has one of Athenar's best vocal performances on the album. He is just spitting venom into the fucking microphone. You can practically hear the fucking thing melting away, singeing away, the little wires twinkling, sparking. It starts a fire in the studio. Midnight doesn't care. They keep fucking playing. They keep fucking jamming. I mean, what else do you want me to say? It's just a badass collection of catchy, head-banging heavy metal. And it's produced extremely well. I mean, the whole album really captures that classic feel and aesthetic of 80s heavy metal without feeling too dated. It's relatively short. It never overstays its welcome. And the whole thing just bleeds energy. Dare I say, enthusiasm. It's almost infectious. I mean, if you can listen to any one of these songs and not have a huge fucking smile on your face by the end of it, then you are a sick human being and I don't want to fucking talk to you anytime soon. Honestly, I'm gonna give this thing a fucking 4 out of 5. It is just such a thoroughly, completely entertaining album. Sure, it's not particularly intelligent or original, but it's also not really trying to be. Midnight just want to come in, kick ass, drink beer, and go home. And that's exactly what they do. And they do it professionally, confidently, enthusiastically. There's not a single dud of a song on here, not a single dull moment. The momentum carries through the entire fucking thing. Hell, it carried with me after the album was over. I mean, I finished this album and I was like really pumped all of a sudden, you know? I literally went the rest of my day feeling like super pumped and excited because of how damn good this record is. And that's what a good, nay, a great heavy metal album should do. That's how I feel coming out of Screaming for Vengeance. That's how I feel coming out of Number of the Beast. That's how I feel coming out of Kill 'Em All. That's how I feel coming out of Rebirth by Blasphemy. Like, honestly, the only way I could picture somebody not enjoying this album is if they were just like, yeah, you know, fast riffs and catchy hooks and beer and whiskey and headbanging and having fun and being happy. That's just not my cup of tea, dude. I don't know. I don't care for it. And fuck those kind of people anyway. I will happily jam this album, and I will happily jam it with the closest bottle of liquor in hand and the closest friend at my side headbanging like a motherfucker. 4 out of 5, a must listen if you enjoy having fun. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be, so what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? Press this button right here, subscribe for updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately, and you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.